Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. You're watching Question Hour, the show that gets you questions asked by members in the upper house and replies given by the government. I'm your host Rajat Kane, joined with my colleague Kriti Mishra.
Thank you so much, Rajat. And as the viewers know, that Question Hour is a very important tool in India's parliamentary democracy, giving an opportunity to the members of both houses, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, to question the government to fix accountability. There are different types of questions, the start questions, the unstart questions, and also the short notice ones.
Well, start are the ones where replies are given directly on the floor of the House, whereas the unstart are the ones where replies are given in the written format by the minister. And this show, Question Hour, focuses on unstart questions.
Unstart questions asked by the members of the upper house during the first part of the ongoing 253rd session of Rajya Sabha. Right now, of course, there's recess. So, Rajat, how are these questions asked and how are they answered? Here's a small presentation for our viewers.
A member submits his or her questions at least 15 days before the office of Rajya Sabha chairman. The Rajya Sabha Secretariat chooses the questions to be answered through a draw of ballots. Separate ballots are held for starred and unstarred questions. The questions are scrutinized for admissibility under the current rules and precedents. Questions are disallowed if they are not in order. Advance copies of chosen questions are sent to ministry or departments concerned. The ministry concerns collect information to prepare the reply. The minister concerned reply to starred questions on the floor of the House and provides written answers to unstarred questions. Up to 160 unstarred questions are listed every day in a separate list.
Well, there you saw how these questions are asked and how they are answered. Well, it's time to begin our show. Well, the first question of this edition of the show that was asked by MP Rajiv Satar from Ministry of Food Processing. The member sought to know if government is implementing Operation Green for the benefit of our farmers as well as consumers of agricultural products.
And this response has been given by MOS Food Processing Industries, Rameshwar Teli, and the response is in affirmative that the government has launched such a scheme. In pursuance to the budget announcement for the year 2018-19, Ministry has launched a new central sector scheme, Operation Greens, a scheme for integrated development of tomato, onion and potato value chain with a budgetary allocation of 500 crore rupees in November 2018. Under this scheme, during glut situation, subsidies provided at the rate of 50% for transportation and storage for evacuation of top crops from production surplus areas to consumption centers under price stabilization measures. Further, grant and aid is also provided at the rate of 50% of the eligible project cost, subject to maximum 50 crore rupees per project for setting up of integrated value chain development projects in identified clusters in major producing states. The government further says that in pursuance of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, subsidy at the rate of 50% for transportation and storage under price stabilization measures in eligible production is extended from top crops to a total of 41 notified horticulture crops for a period of 6 months. If prices fall below the average prices for last 3 years or 15% below of previous year's price. The timelines of the scheme are further extended up to 31st of March 2021. Further, transportation subsidy under the scheme is extended to all fruits and vegetables through Kisan Rail scheme provided by Indian Railways by way of charging 50% of their freight charges. Scheme also provides the transportation subsidy to the notified fruits and vegetables being transported by air from the NER and Himalayan region states by way of charging 50% freight by airlines. The list of notified fruits and vegetables which are eligible for subsidy under new scheme Operation Green Stop or total is as under. Fruits: mango, banana, guava, kiwi, lychee, papaya, musambi, orange and kino. Lime, lemon, pineapple, pomegranate, jackfruit, apple, almond, anola, passion fruit, pear, sweet potato, chiku. For vegetables: French beans, bitter gourd, brinjal, capsicum, carrot, cauliflower. Chilies: green chili, okra, cucumber, peas, garlic, onion, potato, tomato, large cardamom, pumpkin, ginger, cabbage, squash and turmeric. And moving on to the next question, and this one has been asked by member Shakti Singh Gohil, and this question is to the Ministry of Education. And the member has sought detail on the financial impact of Right to Education Act.
Well, reply to this query was given by Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank. The minister says that as per Section 7.1 read with Section 3 of the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education of the RTE Act 2009, the central government and state government shall have concurrent responsibility for providing funds for carrying out provisions of this Act, and grants in aid of revenues is provided to state governments from time to time in consultation with state governments. Further, Section 7 Subsection 5 of the RTE Act 2009 states that state governments shall be responsible to provide funds for implementation of provision of the Act after taking into consideration the sums provided by the centre to state government. The centrally sponsored scheme Samagra Shiksha also supports states and UTs for implementation of the provisions of RTE 2009. Well, moving on to next question that was asked by member Saeed Zafar Islam from Ministry of Minority Affairs. The member saw details of the coaching institutes across the country which is giving free education to minority students.
Well, the Ministry of Minority Affairs implements a scheme for free coaching to the 6 notified minority communities, and this response has been given by Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi. These 6 notified minority communities include Sikhs, Christians, Buddhists, Parsis, Jains and Muslims, whose total annual family income from all sources does not exceed 6 lakh per annum. The criteria for empanelment of project implementing agencies under the scheme is as under. The institute should be a registered body or run by an organization registered under the Societies Registration Act 1860, Companies Act 2014 or any other relevant act of the state or the UT. The registration for last 3 years will be required in respect of the organization's implementing agency which desire to apply for empanelment as on date of notification, inviting applications from the states or UTs or the coaching institutions. The institute center should have fully functional or a minimum period of 3 years at the time of applying under the Nyay Savera scheme and having a minimum enrollment of 100 students in the courses for coaching included in the Nyaya Savera scheme each year for last 3 years immediately prior to the year in which institute has applied for empanelment. These institutes should have required number of qualified faculty members either on its payroll or on part-time basis. The institutes should have necessary infrastructure such as premises, library, requisite equipment to run the coaching classes in the courses applied for. Coaching institutes should have a minimum success rate of 15% in the coaching courses applied for. Its past performance vis-a-vis intake and success rate is taken into consideration and selection. The implementing agencies must have been registered on Niti Aayog portal. The institution or organization should not have declared bankrupt at any point of time. The institutions or organization should not have been blacklisted by any department or body of the government at any point of time. At present, 44 such institutes have been given allocation for conducting class coaching under the Nyaya Savera scheme under 15 PIAs in Uttar Pradesh. In the last 2 years, 1,29,23,415 scholarships were provided under Nyaya Savera scheme. 24,977 students or candidates have benefited and have been allocated in the last 2 years in current year. The state-wise details of students of minority community benefited under scholarship schemes and free coaching and light scheme during the last 2 years had also been provided by the government. In the reply, the government further says there is no state-wise fund allocation under Nyaya Savera, free coaching and light scheme and scholarship schemes. However, an amount of 6,599.97 crore has been allocated under the above schemes in the last 3 years. Joining us on the Question Hour show is Rajya Sabha MP Mr. Syed Zafar Islam. So in the first part of the ongoing Rajya Sabha session, you'd asked a very important question about the free coaching scheme to the minority students. The government has given an exhaustive reply. What is your take?
Well, it is important that we have a demographic dividend. When we say demographic dividend means we have huge youth, young population in the country. And unless we really provide them skill, education and nurture them, then they will be able to contribute to the nation. And from that perspective, since I come from the minority community, I know exactly that there is a huge dropout ratio in minority community, particularly after 6th standard. So I further inquired what is the reason, and the reason primarily that sometimes you find that you have more than one kid to look after, then you have a problem of resources, that you do not have adequate resources to ensure that they get proper education, and for that reason, I thought it's best to inquire from the concerned ministry what is the policy the government has in terms of providing them education, in terms of providing those the assistance to those students who are very, very good or who need support from the government, support from the society, and also needs special care from the people as the community at large. So while I was engaging many other organizations, be it NGOs, be it the society seniors, or people of prominence from the society, what are they doing, and whether they are running education, whether they are providing additional support to such a less privileged child who have the capability to go up in the ladder, but they need a proper education, and unfortunately their parent cannot afford those expenses, or they do not have enough resources to ensure that they get the proper education. So I raised this question in the parliament. Being a first time member of the parliament, I raised a start question which I did get a proper reply from the concerned Ministry of Minority Affairs, and I was extremely pleased to get the answer that government has a scheme, and I'm really complimenting the concerned ministry and the Honorable Prime Minister for having implemented a scheme called Naya Savera. And Naya Savera is primarily meant for students who are from a less privileged background, whose parents cannot afford such education. They do not have enough resources to ensure that they get proper education, and such families do get support, or the students do get support from the government, because it is important that the government steps in, and government has stepped in, and it's not only for minority community as such. I say minority community, when people refer minority community, they refer only Muslim. It's not only Muslim. It is 6 minority communities, be it Jain, be it Sikh, be it Christian, be it Buddha, and be it Muslim. All communities have young children, and they need support from the government, and government has initiated through Ministry of Minority Affairs, and through a scheme called Naya Savera, and they are giving scholarship to such students who needed support from the government to pursue their education further, and their parents unfortunately belong to the marginalized section of the society and cannot afford their education, and government is discharging its responsibility because it's the welfare state, and welfare states, it is important that with fairness and effectiveness, our government scheme does reaches to the people, and I must compliment the concerned ministry, the concerned minister, and the Honorable Prime Minister for having initiated the scheme and implemented it, and the beneficiaries are the students who have the bright future in this country, who are going to contribute in terms of in our community as well as in the society.
So, as you said, you're a first-time member. Any specific demand or any specific suggestion that you'd like to extend?
Well, time to time I do. I'm a new member, first of all, but I took initiative in the first session itself. Did ask few questions, particularly because my background is economy and banking, finance, and economy. So I did ask few questions related to that, and I got a very good answer. And I also raised a question about the facilities which has been promised by previous government and successive government in the railways, Ministry of Railways, but by the Ministry of Railways, but have not been implemented. So I did raise such questions because the government, the party has given me a constituency where I just have to see the developmental activities in Uttar Pradesh. And when I visited there, a lot of people I interacted with, and these people did give me suggestions as well as their experiences by the previous and various other issues they raised, and particularly from the Muslim community and the minority community, the parents and the lot of excitement among the students. They want to pursue studies, but they do not have facilities. So I have identified various categories of students, those who are good in education and they want to be pursued and they need support from the government. There are some good students, there are some boys who are extremely good in sports. So I am also approaching the concerned Ministry of Youth and Sports so that these young boys get support from the concerned ministry. So I see that this session or house is a perfect platform to raise the issue concerning the people of this great country, and I am extremely happy and thankful to the Honorable Prime Minister, to the Honorable Home Minister, the Honorable Party President for having nominated me to this prestigious house, and I am sure that as a citizen of this country, I will contribute to the best possible manner to ensure that the benefit goes to the common man on the street.
All right, on that note, thank you so much for joining us. And let's move on to the next question, and this one has been asked by member DP Watts, and this question is to the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. And the member has asked whether there is any linkage between industry and institute under the Skill India mission.
Well, a fairly elaborate reply has been given by Minister of Skill Entrepreneurship, R.K. Singh. The ministry says the National Skill Development Mission is aimed at creating convergence across sectors and state in terms of skill training activities. Training is not only done by the central ministries and departments, but also by state governments. Both short-term and long-term skill training is being important under the aegis of the mission. In short-term training ecosystem, 37 sector skill councils have been set up as industry-led bodies to create national occupational standards, develop competency network, conduct training of traders, programs, affiliate vocational training institutes, conduct skill gap studies in their respective sectors for labour market information system, and assess and certify trainees on the curriculum aligned to the NOS. In long-term training ecosystem, the dual system of training scheme was introduced in 2016 with the objective to enable industries and establishments to partner with the government and private industrial training institutes, or the ITIs, for conducting training programs towards fulfilling skill manpower requirements. The scheme is aimed at amalgamation of theoretical training imparted through ITIs and practical training imparted through industry, which enables industry linkages and provides hands-on experience to students on the latest industry-relevant technologies. Revised DST guidelines were issued in 2019, after which 1,061 memoranda of understandings have been signed with industry until 31st January 2021. In addition, a flexible MOU scheme has been designed to cater to need of both the industry as well as trainees, allowing industries to train candidates as per their skill sets, requirements, and providing trainees with an industry environment aligned with market demand and latest technology to undergo training. The Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship has been actively pursuing global partnerships with government of other countries with the aim of promoting global mobility, strengthening the Indian skilling ecosystem and sharing of knowledge. In October 2017, MSDE had signed a memorandum of cooperation with Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Health, Labour and Welfare of Government of Japan with an aim to transform India's skill ecosystem by sending and accepting technical interns for India to Japan and enabling Indian industries to imbibe the best practices of Japanese industries. So far, India has sent 220 candidates to Japan under various sectors such as agriculture, construction, manufacturing and healthcare. More than 600 candidates are currently being trained by the Indian sending organizations. In January 2021, the Union Cabinet has approved the signing of another MOC between the Government of India and Japan on basic framework for partnership for proper operation of system pertaining to a specific skilled worker. This MOC would set an institutional mechanism for partnership and cooperation between India and Japan on sending and accepting skilled Indian workers who have qualified the required skill in Japanese language test to work in 14 specified sectors in Japan. An MOU was signed between MSDE and National Qualification Authority UAE on 29 April 2016 to collaborate in mutual recognition of qualifications. The National Skill Development Cooperation is working with Ministry of Human Resource and Emiratization and Abu Dhabi Quality and Conformity Council for benchmarking qualification, assessment and certification. Under the India-UAE Skill Harmonization Program, a pilot program to operationalize the benchmarking of 16 UAE skill qualification to 13 India skill qualification in construction and automotive sector has been successfully conducted. In the pilot program, 133 candidates have been assessed on mutually recognized qualifications, 63 candidates were interviewed and selected, out of which 18 candidates have already been deployed to UAE. MSDE and SDC have also signed MOUs with various entities in countries like Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Australia, Finland, Switzerland for cooperation in the field of skill development, vocational and professional education and training. Well, moving on to the next question of this edition that was asked by member Nadimul Haq from Ministry of Railways. The member sought details of the railway operation and the railway network in remote areas across the country.
And this response has been given by Railways Minister Piyush Goyal. In the response, the Railway Minister says that railway projects are taken up on the basis of remunerative prices, last mile connectivity, missing links and alternate routes, augmentation of congested or saturated lines, socio-economic considerations which covers connectivity in backward and rural areas. Most of the new line projects have been taken up primarily on socio-economic considerations in backward and remote areas for speedy development of economically backward areas. As on 1st of April 2020, 513 railway projects, 189 new line and 54 gauge conversions and 270 doubling works of total length of 53,039 kilometers are in different stages of planning, sanction or execution, out of which commissioning of 10,013 kilometers length has been achieved and expenditure of 1.86 lakh crore has been incurred up to March 2020. The railway projects are sanctioned zonal railway-wise and not state-wise or region-wise, as the Indian Railways network spans across various state boundaries. The project-wise details including cost, expenditure and outlay are available in public domain on Indian Railways website, which is www.indianrailways.gov.in. And moving on to the next question asked by member Sudhir Kumar, and this question is to the Ministry of Rural Development. And the member has asked the government about the steps that it has taken to boost rural economy after the blow of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, the reply to this query is given by Minister of Rural Development Narendra Singh Tomar. In the reply, the ministry says that Ministry of Finance on 26th of March 2020 announced relief package under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana for poor to help them fight the battle against COVID-19 pandemic. The relief package announced includes one-time ex gratia payment of Rs 500 per month for 3 months, that is April, May, June of 2020, to women Jan Dhan account holders. In pursuance of this, Ministry of Rural Development implemented a scheme of relief package of one-time ex gratia payment of Rs 500 per month for 3 months to women Jan Dhan account holders through various banks. A total of Rs 30,956.97 crore has been released towards direct benefit transfer to women beneficiaries of Jan Dhan account holders under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana at Rs 500 each for 3 months. Ex gratia of Rs 1,000 into installment, that is Rs 500 each to existing old age, widow and disabled Divyajan, beneficiary of schemes of National Social Assistance Program. A total of 2,814.50 crore as ex gratia was released in 2 tranches in April and May 2020 to states and union territories under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana for existing 282 lakh beneficiaries of NSAP. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act or Manrega wage rate revised with effect from 1st of April 2020 with average wage increased of Rs 20 over wage rate of 2019-20. The collateral-free credit limit of self-help groups members in the National Rural Livelihood Mission enhanced from Rs 10 lakh to 20 lakh. Apart from this, Government of India launched Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan on 28 June 2020 to boost employment and livelihood opportunities for returning migrants, workers and similarly affected citizens in rural areas in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. The objective of Abhiyan were to provide immediate employment and livelihood opportunities to distressed, to saturate the village with people, infrastructure and creation of livelihood assets to boost the income generation activities and enhance long-term livelihood opportunities by giving focus on 25 works in 116 selected districts across 6 states of Bihar, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. The Abhiyan has started the resource envelope of Rs 50,000 crore. The Abhiyan is convergent effort of ongoing schemes of 12 ministries and departments of central government. 4 schemes of Ministry of Rural Development, namely Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana and Shyam Prasad Mukherjee Urban Mission have been identified under the GKRA. The achievements in this regard has also been given in the answer. Under Manrega, a total of 50.78 crore person days employment has been generated during the Abhiyan with an expenditure of Rs 39,292.81 crore. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen has sanctioned a total of 7,70,522 houses and completed 4,81,210 houses with total expenditure of 5,618.19 crore. Under Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, as against target of Rs 2,902 crore as expenditure of Rs 1,529 crore has been incurred as on 30th November 2020. Under Shyam Prasad Mukherjee Urban Mission, the development work in 47 urban clusters under the GKRA have been implemented with fast pace for providing employment and livelihood opportunities to rural citizens. During the Abhiyan period, 13,494 works have been completed against target of 13,886, which is 97% of overall physical target of Rs 693.55 crore expenditure. That also include convergence expenditure and has been made, which is 87% of financial targets undertaken by the SPMRM, that is Shyam Prasad Mukherjee Urban Mission and GKRA. Other major steps taken by Ministry of Rural Development under various schemes during outbreak of COVID-19 are: Manrega, which is demand-driven wage employment program, provides at least 100 days of guaranteed wage employment every financial year is to every rural household whose adult worker volunteers to do unskilled manual work. During financial year 2020-21, that is up to 6th of February 2021, more than 326 crore person days have been generated, which is approximately 44% more than employment generated during same period in the financial year 1920. And more than 1.61 crore new jobs have been issued. Government has enhanced allocation under Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act for financial year 2020-21 from Rs 61,500 crore to 1,01,500 crore. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen aims to provide assistance to eligible rural households for construction of 2.95 crore Pakka house with basic amenities to achieve the objective of housing for all by the year 2022. Efforts taken under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen during COVID are as under: focus on completion of these houses where beneficiaries have received second and third installments. Utilize lockdown period to upload on a campaign mode details of physically completed house on Awas Soft. Maximum sanctions to beneficiaries be issued against 2020-21 targets. And lastly, states and union territories advised to take up rural mason training in a long way, and that training can be conducted under recognition of prior learning mode.
So these were the questions and answers that we could pack for our viewers in this edition of the Question Hour show.
Well, thanks for watching Question Hour. Stay safe. Goodbye.